This is an awful tragedy that this young woman had to suffer such brutality at the hands of someone who has never taken accountability for their own mental health rehabilitation and never taken account of their own responsibility on how they present themselves around innocent citizens, knowing well that they suffer from an illness that they have to manage. So, I apologize and I'm so sorry for her family and her friends and loved ones that they had to witness this gruesome event. But I do want to talk about the train tragedy, and the mental health that can no longer be the excuse. Mental health can no longer be the excuse. And reason why I said that is because you're going to watch this content. Please be aware that it is very heavy. There's also been an additional portion of the media that was released on yesterday and partly today of what this assailant thought he heard while he was having a schizophrenic moment, and where he made the decision to commit a crime. And so now people are also talking about the other riders that were on the train and how it looked like they could have been desensitized, or either they didn't realize the severity of what had happened because she wasn't presenting blood at the moment when you see the video later on, but she was definitely in distress. And I do wish that someone would have just simply asked her, "Are you okay?" They could have simply just called 911. But they looked over at her and they kept going, just thinking that she was just going through something. But they should have asked, "Are you okay?" And even if you don't ask, you could at least dial 911 on your phone when you made eye contact that someone was not doing well.
It is just pure horror. Look at this girl's eyes. Tragic. She had to make eye contact with evil, and terror is on her face. Now the shock of realizing that something's wrong. She probably doesn't even know she's been stabbed yet, and the pain in her neck is probably just starting to creep in. And now she's left to cry as her life slips away, alone, because not a single person could offer her help or even an "Are you okay?" You could give these people the benefit of the doubt, as perhaps they don't quite realize what happened, especially because it happened so quick and without warning. The guy walks down the white girl. After he leaves, you can hear some people finally discover what's happened.
Now, I know that there's a lot of back and forth over this man. who has committed this crime. I'm so glad it was all caught on video. And now it is time for the issue of mental health and those who have had a career of crime for this intersection now to meet. And we have to progress to make sure that it is clear with people who have mental health issues that have committed crimes that it won't be tolerated. So when is enough just enough? So month after month, citizens within our nation are falling victim to a dangerous, unprovoked group of people that are suffering from the unfortunate mental health crisis that elevates into crime. 23-year-old woman named Irina Zaratuska. The young woman that was a Ukrainian refugee entered into a public train, and her life was cut short by a man, DeCarlos Brown Jr., that had previously served 14 to 16 separate incidents. Many were felonies, and one in particular had a knife involved. Now he's detained after the last crime that he's now committed, and he's finally getting national and international attention. Gun laws are taking lives, and so is the mental health of people who don't want to be committed or to adhere to a program. This is not just a North Carolina issue. It's a national issue. Just a few months ago in Austin, Texas, a young white male murdered both a child and her grandfather along with an employee while all three were in the Target shopping store's parking lot. It's described as a heinous, unprovoked crime. Target store shooter fired randomly and had a history of mental illness, police say by the Associated Press. A few weeks ago, a man just walked into a New York City corporate building and killed numerous people and without warning, who also had been experiencing mental health issues. This man, remember him? He set a homeless woman on fire that was asleep, killing her. It was a heinous and it was very cold-hearted. And he too had mental health issues. In 2024, a deranged man got caught dragging a woman's body in a sleeping bag on a New York City street, possibly for days. And he too suffered from mental health issues. Are violent crimes going up with mental health illnesses that are also on the rise? Are these crimes increasing the same way that mental health is increasing in our country? 342 to 347 million people that are living within the United States, according to the Census Bureau, last checked on July 1st, 2025. So that means that for every 1 in 5 person that lives here in the United States, they suffer from mental health issues. The more populated our nation grows into, the worse the concentration of crimes against innocent citizens will also increase by adults that are constantly committing deadly crimes.
For far too long, Americans have been forced to put up with Democrat-run cities that set loose savage, bloodthirsty criminals to prey on innocent people, really very, very innocent people. In every place, they control radical left judges, politicians, and activists, and they've adopted a policy of catch and release for thugs and killers. In Charlotte, North Carolina, we saw the results of these policies when a 23-year-old woman who came here from Ukraine met her bloody end on a public train. And here's a picture of it. This is the picture of it. And this is a picture of the woman, a beautiful young girl that never had problems in life, with a magnificent future in this country. And now she's dead. She was slaughtered by a deranged monster who was roaming free after 14 prior arrests. We cannot allow a depraved criminal element of violent repeat offenders to continue spreading destruction and death throughout our country. We have to respond with force and strength. We have to be vicious just like they are. It's the only thing they understand. 24 of the top 25 most dangerous cities in America are run by Democrat mayors. 50 people were murdered in Chicago in recent weeks, with hundreds being shot. And it's time to stop this madness. The people of our country need to insist on protection, safety, law, and order. We have proven that it can be done because we did it right here in D.C., in District of Columbia. The capital of America was a bloodthirsty, horrible, dangerous place, one of the worst. And now it's a crime-free city, and we're going to keep it that way. It can be done. It can happen fast. All we want is, please, Mr. President, we need help. Chicago needs help. Other cities need help. We'll do what has to be done because we're going to make America safe again, and that includes our big cities. We're going to make those cities safe. Thank you.
50 million citizens in the United States suffer from some form of mental health issue. More than half are not getting any type of treatment, and he was one of those halves that did not get any treatment. His mother had even requested for him to be committed, and he rejected the help. About a month before this murder happened, his mother begged to get him committed, and he rejected the help. Now, if you are within your right mind, medicated, and you can make sound decisions as an adult, and if you reject the help, then I feel as if the law needs to accommodate those types of decisions from people who suffer from mental health issues, because you should be able to be accounted for in your moments that you are not taking any medicine or you are now rejecting the treatment. Mental health and sitting for trial. See, this is what has been the issue. And a lot of these sanctuary cities, a lot of these liberal states, and I'm neither liberal nor conservative nor independent, but I am going to say this, and I think that the Democratic Party, the Liberal Party, those who follow to a liberal politics, I feel as if it has gotten delusional now. It has gotten delusional. They have focused and centered on things that have gotten away from how we manage our nation. They have gotten so focused on immigration, LGBTQ, and now it is like, who cares about the safety of the citizens? Who cares about strengthening families? Who cares about some of the traditional conservative things that Black people especially do think about? It has now become a movement for just patting criminals on their head, giving them warnings, catching and releasing, never really fully addressing the criminal justice side. They only want to rehabilitate while there is no rehabilitation being done. So therein lies the problem on getting mental health patients out of the mix of the society. When you can constantly commit crimes and terrorize your community and your own self, you are a mental health risk. Of course, any one of us can suffer from mental health. No one can avoid some of these inevitable misfortunes that can occur. Just like no one can say that they would never get cancer. No one can never say they can never have a heart attack. These are things that you try to prevent. However, the physiological makeup of your body is sometimes out of your control. So, of course, mental health issues is not necessarily someone's fault, but it does become your fault when you want to reject treatment. The court system and their lack of making the law applicable to the well-being of society, that they release with minimal bond amounts, organizing mental health resources that the criminal will never engage in completely. They set up these rehabilitation and mental health orders, and a lot of these patients and these criminals never follow through with it. They will perform, it's very performative just for them to get back out and be released from jail or prison. And then once they get back out into regular population, they fall back into their regular habits. Performative criminal justice. So not only is the criminal or the person that's suffering from ongoing mental health issues that motivates them to commit crimes, not only are they performative on wanting to be released back into the general public, but a lot of times our criminal justice is also performative, because there's too many judges that are trying to be forward thinking and address that the person that commit the crime also has a right to have a fair trial. Of course, that's your constitutional right. Rulings that usually occur never go to a trial, though, okay? Because they give them a mental health test, a check, an evaluation, and it can run anywhere from like a few days to 30 days to 60 days or more. And because they deem the assailant as not mentally fit, their judgments are highly performative, and it strains the court system to have the same repeated offender to have to constantly appear before a judge. And a lot of these judges are on a first name basis with some of these people because they have frequented courtrooms. They've committed so many different crimes. Who's paying for the next unfit mental health criminal when they are constantly in need of public defenders on taxpayer dollars? You want to know who's paying for that? I'll tell you who's paying for that. Newsflash, you are. You and I, we are footing this bill. You're barely able to survive day to day, and yet your tax dollars and my tax dollars are being wasted on repeat offenders that are one event away from making a new victim. Now, something's going to have to change. While you're sleeping, someone in Washington is approving a new bill that will pay millions of dollars from our tax dollars to fix an ongoing issue in mental health. These people, a lot of times, are very unstable. It's so unfortunate that they are being dealt with this hand in their lifetime. It is. But a lot of people have also experienced the good side of being rehabilitated, the good side of staying on with a mental health program. And I'm not a professional. However, I've worked in the criminal justice system and as a teacher. So I understand some of the psychology of a lot of people who have been in the prison system. And I understand that there's a lot of outside forces that have motivated mental health issues, especially for people who have suffered SA abuse as a child growing up, domestic violence growing up, just having to deal with living with a parent who has a severe mental health issue such as schizophrenia or maybe even alcoholism or drug abuse. These things can alter a young person's cognitive development, and it can have an impact on their mental health as they progress in life. So I'm not being cold-hearted or not understanding. So don't think that I'm like that. However, we have to get something done, because if not, who's to say it's not going to be your loved one? Who's to say it's not going to be your child, your parent, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparent, your spouse, your grandkid? Who's to say it's not going to be them, your niece, your nephew, someone that you hold so dearly, your best friend, your neighbor, the people that you go to church with, your pastor, folks that you look forward to meeting. You enjoy, they bring enjoyment to your life, and they're just taken out of your life without warning for something that could have been prevented. So I'm not just thinking about just me. I'm thinking about the people that I love, and I'm thinking about the people that are in my immediate community, in their public safety. Unfortunately, their inability to maintain their own health has now become a threat to innocent citizens, and not only to adult citizens, but also to minors as well. Could you imagine had he did this to a child? It's already horrific that he did this to this young woman who was defenseless and had unknowingly sat in front of him, didn't discriminate against him, didn't move to the other side of the train because she was trying to avoid sitting next to a black man or anybody else that was in that immediate area. It was herself, and I saw maybe 2 other black people that was sitting. She wasn't trying to do anything like that. She was sitting down minding her business, and out of nowhere, see, this builds up an issue with people wanting to now partake in public activities, riding public transportation, going to public spaces. See, this increases the fear. And when fear increases, it also reduces the amount of money that people want to contribute towards going out for entertainment, handling their day-to-day affairs. This has an impact. People don't feel safe. And also, too, it can start to develop into widening already stressed out, intense filled racial nation that is going on in our current times between groups of people. You know, you don't want to be held accountable for something someone else did just because of the color of your skin, and vice versa, whether they're white, black, Latino, Asian, it doesn't matter, indigenous, it doesn't matter. You don't want someone to be out there committing crimes that look like you. Can't, unfortunately, not everybody allows you to have that grace. You have some people that are out here that are already got prejudice, preconceived notions about you, and they think that just because this person did it, you're gonna do it, and that's unfair. But it's true, and it happens. Monitoring devices is what's needed, in my opinion. It's what's needed. If you know that you have a mental health issue, and the courts know that you have been locked up even one time, and you have a mental health issue like schizophrenia or some type of psychosis that can be very dangerous, and where you can't control your actions, just like that man, he thought that he was listening to, he had even had a file that said that in the past he was being controlled by some type of device that was telling him that people were trying to control him. Now, of course, that's just another side effect of schizophrenia. However, how dangerous is that? How dangerous is that? Not only could you have stabbed someone, you could go and bomb somewhere. You could set a place on fire where people, human lives are in there, and you set a place on fire. You know, the mind is it's limitless on what it can do when you don't have control of it. So people like that have to be monitored, just like we monitor people who are out on probation that don't have mental health issues, and they get a monitor on their leg. The same way that people with mental health issues that also, especially who have a crime past, they need to be monitored. It's a very, very inexpensive and effective cost. 2025, this has to be taken into consideration to enhance the laws that are around public safety and those citizens that are not proactive in their own well-being. The ankle monitor works perfectly. They are effective, and even for criminals, again, they have, even criminals that don't have any mental health issues, what do? We put an ankle monitor on them. Why? Because they could be a danger to the general public. They are processing into becoming a part of the main public again, but it's based on a trust system. So your behavior and how it's modified, how we modify your behavior, and if you are willing to develop into better behavior patterns, then the goal is we'll remove the ankle device. Now, my question is, what do you think should happen to this criminal and other mental health individuals? What do you think should happen? Because I feel as if this was such a tragedy. And again, I know that some people are trying to make it racial, that he was black and all that and this and the other. But I'm going to say this as a black woman, as a black American woman, I'm going to say this. I'm not too big. I'm not too proud to say something when it needs to be said. And in this moment and in this hour, it has to be said that is not acceptable. Okay? I don't care what color you are. What he did was wrong. What he did was wrong in mental health. It cannot. Just like the young man in Texas. Mental health cannot save you. It can't. It can't. Because you have enough mental health to do other things and to operate as a functioning adult, then you have to be held accountable. And it's my opinion, I believe they're going to go for the death penalty for him. Because North Carolina has two options, life or death. And, I don't agree with everything President Trump said, but I do agree that crime is going to have to be taken seriously now. Because we have too many innocent lives that are just trying to make it. Good people that are just being deleted off the face of the earth here in this country. And we're supposed to be the most developed, the most advanced, the most of everything, right? We're supposed to still be that superpower that's hanging by a thread. But we're supposed to be that superpower, and yet we have the most weak laws when it comes to criminal justice. And also, too, the Second Amendment. That also needs to be modified because there's been so many gun crimes that have taken the lives of children, men, women, old folks. It is out now. The same way that they went to the Supreme Court in regards to pro-life, and they reversed Roe versus Wade. Okay, that landmark case that gave women all over the United States the right to choose whether she wanted to have abortion or not, is the same way they need to pass a Supreme Court ruling that now enhances punishment laws for functioning adults that have criminal histories, so that they are held accountable for their crimes. Because I think that if you make it clear and you make it plain for people that crime will not be accepted, people will then be more eager to stay with the recommended programs and rehabilitation resources. And if not, then that's on them. Please like, share, and subscribe, and add your comments into the comment section. And what would be your solution for what happened to this young woman and this man who took her life? And what do you think should happen moving forward in the future? Do you think he deserves a death penalty or not? Thank you so much again for listening. I hope you have a blessed day.